Let's close our eyes, and we can practice developing an attitude of gratitude, maybe a positive attitude towards this practice, because the way we respond to each moment actually puts in the causes of how the next moment feels like, will appear. So for instance, if we respond with grumpiness or negativity, then we're actually putting in the causes for the next moment to feel more yucky. And in this sense, we have choices that affect how the future mind states will be. And this makes it more interesting. And having that element of interest keeps the mind more alert in that it's participating in how the mind will open up and develop. So we can just experiment and try to develop this attitude of, oh, what a relief. This is going to be almost an hour of relief, no interruptions, taking a break, and also value into developing the mind. And this is so priceless because so much of the time in our waking time, we're reacting. We're not really participating in life, really. It's more like reacting, reactive mode. I know that that's how my mind is. I mean, in the sense of automatic, there's a lot of automatic patterns when we have a lot of things going on. And it's so easy to just respond to the next thing. A kid wants peanut butter toast, got it, making peanut butter toast. So all the attention and energy is on outside things, like, how getting things done, putting the peanut butter on toast on, getting socks on, driving, doing this. And here, we're focusing all our energy not into doing, but observing. And this gets to be more subtle. So to maintain that alertness and awareness, it helps to be interested in how the mind will change, and interested in the process of the mind becoming stiller and how that feels like. So this also starts in the attitude when we close our eyes. Try to put a smile on your face, see if that affects your mood. Studies show it does. Like people in experiments, scientists ask people to put a pencil in their mouth, fake a smile, even though it's not a real, genuine smile, because that involves different muscles around the face. It still affected the mood, and then people perceive neutral faces as more happy compared to people who didn't. So it does affect the mind, how we perceive things. So see what happens. How does your mind feel if you just put a smile on? And oh, what a good opportunity to cultivate and develop the mind. This is an investment into our own well-being, and also discovery of the nature of the mind and inner happiness, well-being. And to allow the mind to be more still, we could notice whatever's happening in the five senses. It could be the cool breeze, and not allowing the mind to say stories about it, like, oh, it's too cold, da da da. Just feeling the breeze. You might hear maybe sounds. There's less birds than usual, but just listening without that comment. It's very automatic sometimes. So we just catch ourselves. We're keeping awareness in knowing without responding. So for instance, if we hear the car, we just let it stay as sound. We don't let our mind comment like, oh, about the traffic or this or that, because that's just adding more noise. It feeds the sense of ego. We're going into lessening activities, stillness. Why? Because it's an inward path to uncover the nature of self, consciousness, and also it's a path to peace, contentment, freedom. My mind now naturally just notices the breathing going in, breathing out. But your mind may, whatever comes to your mind that's happening now, you can be aware of. So whatever is physically in your senses happening. If you'd like, you can, as a little experiment, do some smooth rhythmic inhalation and exhalation, a deliberate, just to activate that relaxation response. Or you can do your own, if you have a practice where you do deliberate breathing for a minute or so, you can do so. And notice how it affects your mind while you're doing it. So you're breathing in and breathing out. You want to make sure it's a nice, long out breath. In, out. And allow your breathing to be natural. And keep interest into the texture and condition of your mind. And notice if it's free from any grumpiness or anxiety, all that, it's free from that, so you can rejoice. Like, oh, what a relief, my mind is peaceful. Because sometimes it's not, and then it's a burden when it is, when it's unpleasant. Having a sense of gratitude and rejoicing that at this moment, the mind is free from really unpleasant states. Even though the world still goes on like lawnmowers, we don't allow our mind to comment on it, because that's where the real suffering lies. It's that inner complaining, that mental arrow. There's a very popular simile that you have, if someone's shot with an arrow or the thorn, I forget. Anyways, sometimes we can't do much about the physical arrow, but we can do about the mental arrow, that I don't want this, it shouldn't be this way, etc. That we have choice. And it takes courage for new habits to form, such as habits of stopping. because the only resistance to it is the ego, because the ego is fed with this inner chatter and complaining. So we have the choice to have that inner freedom, but it takes courage. Mine is delighting in a still mind. Somehow my mind just wants to be still, but normally we go through the body scan, and that's useful in case the mind is moving. It helps turn down the gears like those manual cars. Rather than thinking about many things, we give the mind something interesting to be aware of that's happening now, such as your sensations in the body. And that just allows the mind to slow down a bit more. You can notice the sensations in the toes. Going up, being aware of the ball of the foot. And being aware of the under the arch, and adding a sense of interest. And everybody's motivation could be different. Like, what motivates you to continue the practice? And everybody's personality is different. It could be that really that sense of ease, that taste of freedom, contentment. Could also be just that interest in reality and how the mind works. The self being a construct of the mind. What happens if we allow it to vanish and be more still? Having that interest like a scientist into the nature of the mind. Can we allow the mind to deconstruct through stillness? Knowing no more about the nature. That allows the mindfulness to be a bit strong. And we know the instructions. So being diligent also in the instructions. If the mind starts picking up the past and future, no, not now, perhaps adding a sense of urgency. We only have this opportunity The supporting conditions are here. We don't know how long we'll live to practice. Now is the only time to put the right diligence in, so that the mindfulness, that gatekeeper, the bouncer of our mind, can do its job. Nope. No mind wandering at this time to be entertained. It doesn't happen through force, but just through wisdom. That decision, that choice. I'll choose to enjoy stillness and relief and peace of mind over mind wandering and daydreaming. So it's that choice and that decision to choose to enjoy inner stillness and peace over la la land and daydreaming. And being aware on the heel, noticing the ankles, the sensations in the ankle joints. Being aware of the calves, and knees, and noticing the state of the mind changes all by itself when it's more still. It becomes more the English language is limited to describe certain things, but fingers pointing at the moon, just noticing these states more of your mind changing, like more profound but pleasant, nice. More bright but not necessarily just feeling within yourself, allowing the mindfulness to notice how the background state of your mind changes when your attention stays still through relaxing, letting go, but stay still. And it helps making sure you're still by being aware of something, and it's easier to scan through the body in the beginning. So noticing your knees, the thighs, hips, Remembering also how you're watching your body, not through wanting things. Because if I mentioned noticing how the mind changes, but making sure you do it with equanimity, that looking on from a distance, not wanting something like listening to numbers in a lottery, but more just like nonchalant, just looking on, laid back at the beach, the waves going in and out. And that same way you're watching that part in the hips, going up the spine. Being aware of the chest, the shoulders. And allowing that part of the body to relax. The body relaxes if we add kindness in the way we look at things. Because kindness doesn't want things to be different. What if we add kindness to our observation of the lawnmower? How does that feel? Any sense of tightness just releases if we watch with kindness. And we're the direct recipients of those benefits. Like the benefit of looking on with kindness. And being aware of your shoulders, allowing the shoulders to relax. Being aware of the shoulders and the elbows. The wrists. How are your wrists feeling? Be aware of the breathing. Just making sure that the whole face area, any muscles in the face to relax. Just allowing them to relax, because if you're looking on with kindness, the body feels more relaxed, muscles melt, and that texture, condition, the taste of the mind just ends up feeling more lovely, content, peaceful. It's a pleasant abiding, making a nice inner home, which is so much more worth any outside home. All through letting the world be for this time, not interfering, allowing the ego that comments, controls, all that, allow it to be quiet, and by being quiet, it fades, and we have inner freedom, which is worth so much more. So we're careful in watching the stillness. You can be aware of the breathing, knowing you're breathing in, knowing you're breathing out. Enjoying, just giving up trying to do the meditation, figuring it out. Just be aware of knowing the breathing. Eventually, just through this method, things start to change all by themselves. It's giving the ego a lollipop for it to be quiet. And the mango ripens, the fruit ripens, the flower grows. All these spiritual traditions, they all point to this. This is an empty process. This process happens. It's not an ego, a you that calls the shot. It's just the way the mind is. It's just the way, the nature of things. It's just what happens when we get out of the way. Allowing the mind to be aware of something is just giving it a lollipop to be quiet. And the perceptions change. Even the way you are aware of the breathing changes. It becomes more subtle and nice. Give it a chance. just do it. Go for it. In the sense of giving up, being quiet. You can know you're breathing in, know you're breathing out. And don't interrupt the process. The reflection or figuring things out is done at the end. When a scientist gathers data, it doesn't try to analyze the data while it's being collected. Okay, it doesn't interfere. We just gather the data, not interrupting. And then at the end, there could be some looking back. Now we just being aware of the breathing, knowing it's coming in, knowing it's coming out. Most important thing is how you're observing. Not to observe with ego, with a plan. Just allow the ego to vanish. You're just knowing the breathing. And by itself, it becomes more subtle. Stillness of the mind. Mind opens up just through stillness. can use the counting, breathing in 1, breathing out 1, all the way to 10 and back to 1. If the mind wants to go back to habits of where it delighted in, such as mental activity, we just gently offer it the option and decide to enjoy in less mental stuff, like more silence of the mind and stillness. And it takes time, but we just give it that opportunity, and eventually it'll then turn to it. It's like putting a lion in the cage. I haven't put a lion in the cage, but this is a simile that's common with this practice. At first it'll resist and fight, but eventually it'll just calm down and enjoy the cage because it's there on offer. Like the mind doesn't need to resist or make up stories. So we choose and decide to have that inner silence, and the perception of enjoying and finding value in inner silence. And that allows more stillness and depth. So either you can be aware of your breathing, counting, or scanning, whatever works for the mind, but that you notice that compass going towards more stillness and that inner sense of contentment, relief, freedom. Noticing how the mind feels now compared to when you first came. And even though it hasn't been still the whole time, there was that going in the right direction. Like going to the gym, you don't get bulk in one day. Habits rewire the brain. We're putting in at least the quote-unquote effort, the effort of restraining the fantasies or the daydreaming. And then slowly the structure of the brain changes, and then the way the mind is experienced, and where the mind goes to, how it hangs out. Then slowly through time, it hangs out less in anxiety and worries and mental blah blah, and it just hangs out more in stillness, contentment, peace, and clarity. We could notice, even if it's just slight more clarity, ease, it's better than if we haven't meditated at all. It's like that inner spring cleaning, inner cultivation. And this is worthwhile, because wherever we go, there we are. We can't escape from ourselves. Even going to a Caribbean, drinking coconut under a palm tree. If the mind is miserable or has habits, it'll take it with us. No amount of coconut can change like the nature of the mind. It's only through our practice, what we value, etc. And we can open our eyes whenever ready.
It's just us.